Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren
And I'm Maureen.
So guys, picture this, right? A Chinese company comes into an African country and then they set up a very good, big, prosperous business, right? But they refuse the locals from that country from having access to the premises. They only allow white people or Chinese people to get into the premises. Yet their business is set up in Africa.
Africa, which is predominantly made of black people.
So before we say anything further, let's just watch this clip and then we come back and discuss. Remember, if you have anything to say or any comment to leave it in the comment section and we'll get back to you.
And finally, in Africa, a Chinese supermarket has been accused of racism against locals in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Nigerians were outraged after they were denied entry inside the store for not being of Chinese descent. The West African nation's consumer watchdog has now shut down the Chinese market and summoned its owner. Our next report goes into detail.
Not a day goes by when China and its behavior don't make the news. This time, Chinese actions have sparked outrage almost 10,000 kilometers away. Residents in Nigeria's capital Abuja are enraged with the way they've been treated. A Chinese supermarket in Nigeria is at the center of controversy. The shop is located in a building run by the Chinese Chamber of Commerce in the Nigerian capital. The Chinese supermarket has been accused of racism by denying entry to African shoppers. After videos of the supermarket's blatant racism against local Nigerians went viral, the West African nation's consumer protection watchdog closed down the Chinese store. Officials of Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission locked down the Chinese supermarket until further notice. They also summoned the store's owner for investigation. So how did this instance of Chinese racism against Nigerians in their own country surface? It all started earlier this week. A group of Nigerians went to the Chinese Chamber of Commerce to shop from its supermarket. They were all stopped at the entrance by guards who said that people of only Chinese descent were allowed inside. And then the outcry began. Nigerian authorities have refused to reopen the Chinese supermarket. However, the racist attitude by Chinese towards Nigerians and Africans is nothing new. Reports highlight that Chinese social media is full of anti-African content. And despite calls for controlling racism on Chinese social media, Beijing has done almost nothing about it. Chinese racism came into spotlight even before the COVID-19 pandemic. Africans who were living in China became victims of Chinese racism repeatedly. Over the years, reports of Africans being treated unfairly by the Chinese have become far too frequent. It reached a point where governments had to intervene to douse the flames. And instead of facing the crisis, Beijing called the racism incidents a way to create animosity between China and Africa.
I want to say that if there are people who want to seize on an incident to exaggerate matters and sow discord in China's relations with African countries, that this is a doomed, futile effort. China and Africa have weathered many storms, and the cooperation has been successful and win-win. How relations are between China and Africa, and whether or not cooperation is good. African countries and the people of Africa know in their hearts exactly how things stand.
China's presence in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, remains massive. There are at least 10,000 Chinese living in Nigeria. And Beijing is credited for opening major ports and infrastructure projects in Abuja. However, China has openly engaged in arm twisting and discrimination against locals. And the most recent example is of the Chinese supermarket. As calls for boycott grow in Nigeria, it looks like Chinese racism has become a setback for Beijing's relations with Africa.
So guys, imagine if an African went to China, right? Set up a business and limited Chinese presence in that store, right? And then this African goes further to say, only black people and Africans are allowed in that store. Tell me how Chinese people would react to that particular store.
Yeah.
Tell me how the Chinese president or the Chinese government would react to that particular store. I don't think it would survive a day in China because of this African person limiting Chinese people from entering that store. So now this was reversed. A Chinese person opened a store in Nigeria and this Chinese person limited Actually, he refused access of Africans from entering the store.
The funny thing is that they were using a black guard, a Nigerian guard to refuse entry for other
black
Nigerians.
people, So the funny thing is they use a face that looks like ours to tell us you can't enter a store that it is owned by them, and yet they've set up this store in a predominantly black society, because my feeling is, if they didn't want black people to go inside their stores, they could go and target the market where the white people are at. They could go and target a market where more Chinese people are at. But if they're forced to open their business in Africa, they should expect such incidences to happen.
And one thing that I have to put out is that what I want to ask these people, they refuse service to black Nigerians, to black people, and what is the biggest reason they are giving for refusing entry or services to these people? It's not like these people have gone into that store to steal. It's not like they have gone to borrow. They're going with money to exchange services. You understand?
Right.
So I want to know what is the legitimate reason that even you as a human being looking at it and trying to be reasonable, what is the main reason that made them refuse entry for these people?
Yeah, guys, leave us
as it is.
Leave us a comment. Do you think this was a prime example, a case of racism, or this person had genuine concerns for segregating blacks from whites when it came to this business premises?
Chinese, I feel personally, they say Chinese are not racist, or Chinese this and that. Well, this is a very recent case.
Very recent. It's actually been trending, and we decided
this is the second or third day it's
trending.
Yeah, and I feel like the more of us talk about this, Chinese need to own up to who they are.
Yes,
and they need to do some work on it. Because while it's good that they're coming into Africa and they're creating these ports, they're building businesses, successful economy and all that.
Yeah, in exchange they want them to set up their businesses and make money. There is something called compromises. You might not like the black people, but it is in their land you set up your shop. It is in their land. I really laud Nigerians for tackling this issue the way it has, because you guys, you see, even after this issue was raised and Beijing had to respond, they didn't even acknowledge the factor of racism. Them instead chose to look at it as people trying to smear the relationship between Africa and China. And you know what I like Africa for this time is
they're not sitting down
and taking it, because long ago this was the same situation with the West when the West was coming into Africa. But if you could face racism, it wasn't being addressed. But right now, Africans are woke. Yes, you're bringing development to our countries, but along with it, do you show us respect? Are you trying to create a segregation system in our own country? Yes, we want help from you, but you also want something from us.
Exactly.
And because of that, it's not coming for free. You're also gaining, and because of that symbiotic relationship, you will have to compromise on your racism tendencies.
And I like the fact that this is what I normally say. Nigerians don't take what Jamaica is to the Caribbean is what Nigeria is to Africa. You see, this incident was taking place. Immediately the officials went in and closed that supermarket.
If it was in Kenya, well, let's just say a few leaders in Kenya are bootlickers. I don't know if it would have been closed. Kenyans.
But we have to give our country some credit. I don't think Kenyans would also stand. Also stand and allow this to happen. The fact that if we are not going to benefit from that supermarket and that is a business set up in Africa, then nobody should be able to benefit from it. Let us all stay like that. I like the Nigerian officials. What they did, I applaud what they did. It's either they learn to comply with the laws of the land and learn to respect the people in it, or because
the funniest thing I'm still asking myself, how will you set up business in a predominantly black society, yet your target audience is a white majority? You get that doesn't really make sense. How do you set up business in a predominantly black society but you're targeting a white? The most sensible thing to do is go set up your shop where the white market is at, or because in the white market they'll be forced to pay higher fees and whatnot. So
Or just remain your business in China.
Yeah.
Let it stay in China.
Let your business stay in China.
Exactly. Don't bring it to Africa if you don't want Africans coming in. Because
in China they will really enjoy people who look like them walking inside that supermarket without them feeling these are black
people who look like them, who don't steal from shelves, people who look like them, who don't come into borrow things for free, people who look like them, who have money to afford their services apparently. And this is what we normally talk about. You need to fix your mind, because I believe something like racism is something that is taught. It's systemic, you understand? So for Chinese to come and blatantly treat Africans like this in their own land, it's because that is how they view Africans, you understand?
And it has even been said in the clip that we just watched that some Chinese social sites are filled with very racist remarks,
and nothing is being done about
Beijing
it.
is just sitting down, stretching its legs on the couch and like
benefiting from Africa. Let the kids play, and there's a generation that is growing up on social media. There are kids who are growing up watching social media, and I'll reference the very famous case that was caught some time back, where a Chinese was coming into Africa, I think Angola if I'm not wrong. He was coming into Africa. He was going into the deep, these things that always happen in the villages. He was going into the deep parts of the villages, teaching kids that he was
teaching kids to speak Chinese.
Yes,
he was teaching them racial slurs and recording them and uploading them in a Chinese website. And he really made a lot of money with those videos until he was caught, and he ran his behind back to China.
So these are the kind of things I'm saying. That social media is used to raise a generation of Chinese. Now, if you're telling an African kid who does not even know the meaning of that Chinese word, you're telling them to repeat that, they don't know they're calling themselves black monkeys. You understand?
Right.
They don't know, but there's a kid in China who's watching that, and that is how they view Africans.
And the funniest thing that I've noticed recently, we recently went for some test, and then in this test there was a lot of Africans and a lot of foreigners. A couple of foreigners. Most of them Chinese, a few whites.
One white person and a couple of Chinese people, and then the rest were just locals,
Africans. And then
Africans learn to respect yourself.
How people mingle in new places. You try to make friends for when you need something later in that new place that you're at. So people were just mingling and exchanging ideas, this and that. And then along with the white person was also getting to know the locals.
But the funny thing is, the white person, I feel like there's something there. That white guy was mingling with the black people in that place, but Chinese were very segregated.
Chinese people were very segregated and eyeing this white person like.
And do you know this white guy? Do you know both of these groups are foreigners? This white guy and the Chinese people, and they never at one point
acknowledged each other. They never spoke, and they never greeted each other. And these Chinese people also, they never talked to any black person in that place that we were at. Only this white person was talking to the locals. He would come across, trying to just be with the locals, get an idea, engage and get an idea of what's going on. But the Chinese people, as a matter of fact, where we were all seated, all the smelly Africans, as they like to call us, where we were all seated, these Chinese people got up and they preferred to go and burn their non-melanated skins in the sun. But I guess they were wearing sunscreen, so that is how they segregated themselves. I was just sitting there observing how these foreigners are moving, and I'm like, Chinese people have a very huge problem because I think in China they're usually taught how to hate white people. I'm not sure, guys. Tell us in the comment section. And along with that. So when they see a white person in Africa, they automatically hate that white person. When they see a black person in Africa, they hate them even more.
Exactly.
So these people are just funny.
Yeah. So guys, I don't know about you. Let us know what you think about this in the comment section. But I have to applaud Nigeria for this.
Right.
I hope other African countries follow suit. You don't sit in your own country and let things happen to you.
Yeah, because of these activities, various activities that have begun to take place in Africa, when something happens with the Chinese people, Africans react. I think this is the beginning of people of Africa getting Chinese people to respect them. Because when many Chinese people who want to open businesses in Africa see how their predecessors have been treated because of racism, they'll think twice about opening a store that is intended only for a white market in a black place.
Exactly.
Because if you open a store in a black place, be sure, if I live in the vicinity, I don't know this is okay, I might know this is a Chinese owned property.
You will,
but since it's a supermarket near my vicinity, the only one for that matter, I don't want to save myself time. Instead of going to town, I just enter that place, get what I'm getting, pay for it, and get out, you know. But if you tell me I can't get in there because of my skin color, and most of my neighbors are either black or Indians, but mostly black, you know, and then you tell me that your supermarket is predominantly white, they don't want my kind.
They only allow Chinese descendants
and white people. We will encourage whoever wants to uproot that shop of yours to uproot it so that you can carry it on your back and take it back to China.
Yeah, so guys, let us know what you think about this episode. As usual, we appreciate your company. Thank you so much for staying to this point.
Right. And if you're a new person in this channel and you've not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing to our channel, and we'll see you on our next episode.